Yo, what's going on? I'm Jorge Mateo, founder and CEO of Canine Conversions. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you one simple strategy that could potentially make you a ton of money. This works if you're a dog trainer, a dog business owner, meaning a groomer, walker, poop scooper, any online coach, and pretty much works in any industry. And I know this because I've run it for multiple industries and have been able to run it successfully. And the reason why is so simple, and I mean simple, I mean it is incredibly stupidly simple that you don't need any funnels, you don't need any fancy website or anything like that. It's straight getting leads, getting clients, and making more money. So this is something that I'm gonna show you in this video, and if you stick around to the very end, you'll know exactly how to start getting more clients to your business. And the reason why I can confidently say that is because I've been doing this for years. I'm doing it for multiple clients, and they're getting success. I have people going from spending 1,000 on ads, for example, and getting $21,000 back. I have other clients in the higher end spending 500,000 and making multiple millions. So I'm going to show you exactly what this is, and if you stick towards the very end of the video, you're going to be confident on how to get more leads and more clients without having to spend a ton of money on ads or having any crazy website or any funnels like that. This strategy is so simple that it's so stupid, and I'm personally even running it myself and for multiple clients. So here, let me just show you really quick. I have a school community for all the members that we have here at Canine Conversion. But here, for example, this was 8 days ago that Lynn, she shared her wins. So I'm super happy with my second month earnings for the month of May. CC, which is Canine Conversions, you see this right here, alone brought me $21,000. Not bad for a home-based training center, right? And if we look at her ad account, we see that this is her, and we've only spent $1,239. That is a 20x ROAS, return on ad spend, meaning that for every dollar that you put on ads, she gets $20 in return. So I mean, if you really think about it, right? Would you invest $1,000 to get $20,000 back? Like, yeah, that's a no-brainer. If you're a business owner and you want to grow and scale and get more leads, like that is such a no-brainer. So, and this is this is just one account. If I look at, for example, mine, which is I'm also running this strategy. I'm running different strategies, but this is one of them that I'm running, and I've spent around like $12,000 on just this strategy alone, and we're getting clients. If you're you've probably seen one of my ads, and it's probably been this specific strategy. Okay, then we look at another account. This one's a little bit more of the higher end spend. We looked at we started this campaign in December 3 of 2024, and we've spent a little bit under $46,000. We look at this account right here, and then this account is one of my highest spending. We started launching this specific strategy in April of 8 of 2024, and we've spent over $500,000 on paid ads. So it's safe to say that if we're spending this much money and continue to spend this much money, because we're spending around, let's see, in the last 30 days alone, we've spent a little bit over $45,000 on just this particular strategy. Okay, and if I go to deliver here, we see that all of these are active. All right, before anybody over there says like, hey, these ads are not even not even on, you can see that they're active here. So it works. So if you stay towards the end of the video, I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do and how to do it in order to start getting more leads, more clients, and it's potentially making more money. And the reason why I'm showing you this, like all of this for pretty much for free, is because one, I want to get you wins. Like, I legit just want to get you wins. I want you getting more leads. I want you to get more clients. I want you to be like, hey, Canine Conversions there and Jorge Mateo, like, they're the real deal. They know exactly what they're doing, and to the point where like, hey, I want to scale my business. I want more better systems. I want a better sales process, and then you come work with us. So just being fully transparent, okay? And because I love dogs and I want to help as many dogs as possible, that's the reason why I transitioned from working and running ads for influencers and celebrities to just in the dog niche. So let me just dive right into it. Okay, so I'm not going to dive too much into how to create a business portfolio, how to create an ads manager. Like I have videos that you can watch on how to do that. Okay, so I'm just gonna go straight to the point. If you've never ran any ads before, this is what we call the ads manager, where we run the ads on Facebook. Okay. If you're, if you're new to this, again, you can watch any of those videos to see how we set this up. If you're someone who've already ran ads before but haven't really found that much success, then you can just follow along. You can go to your ads manager and then go to this page right here. So this is where we start building everything out. Okay, so one of the things that I'm going to do in this video, I'm going to walk you through A to Z, from the campaign to the ad set to the ads, meaning what objective do we want Facebook to use, what type of targeting we want to do, just because our targeting are very, very specific. So it's not like an open broad targeting, like targeting all over the US. No, like most of you guys watching this video have a local business, so it doesn't really make sense to place an ad if you're in San Diego and people in New York are seeing it, right? And that's the reason why one of the multiple reasons why I love paid ads, just because with paid ads, you can actually target specific locations, meaning, hey, if I have a business in San Diego and I only want to target, dog owners, within a 20-mile radius of my facility or my home or wherever you do business, then you can do that. Right? If you have, for example, a big following, and then you post like, hey, I'm having this free there's a free valuation or free transformation session, or some sort of offer, and you have a big following and they're all over the place, well, you can't really post and expect everyone to be local, right? Just because you have people from, or followers from all over the place. And that's one of the reasons why I love paid ads, specifically on Meta, just because you can target specific locations, and also because you can predict how many leads you get, based on some a few data that you get within the first week, and then from there you can make a decision. Hey, am I getting enough leads? If you are, then perfect. You could just have the budget the same. If you're seeing that, hey, I want more leads, you can put a little bit more money on ads. If you're like, hey, I'm getting way too much leads, which funny thing is, we actually do get clients say like, hey, can we reduce the budget a little, because it's just me by myself or just a few people and we can't handle all the leads coming in. And that's the type of problem that you want to have. So let me go back to the ads manager. Okay, so one of the things that we're going to be doing is we're going to create a campaign. So if we see here, we're going to click on this green button that says create. Okay, within here, we have different campaign objectives. Okay, we have awareness, traffic, engagement, leads, ad promotion, sales. This right here is incredibly important. So if you're not really paying attention, this right here can really make or break your business, can really make or break your experience with paid ads and the results you're getting. Just because the number one mistakes that I see a lot of people do whenever they're running paid ads for the first time, or they're not that experienced, is that in their head, I'm like, okay, I want more traffic to my website. I want more traffic to my funnel, or I want more traffic to my, to my Instagram, for example, right? The problem with that is that, yeah, sure, we want traffic, but the chances of people converting is very, very, very small. And the reason why is because Meta has these people categorized as, people who like to click on links, but not necessarily take action. So people that fall into a category like that is, like bloggers, people that like writing articles and they want more exposure. This is the objective that they would use. We want leads, we want clients, we want DMs, which I'll talk a little bit more about that. But, what we want is people interested in our offer, in our services, and how do we get them as a lead and then as a client. So out of all of these, what we're going to be doing for this particular strategy, because I typically use leads or sales a lot, but because of this particular strategy, we use something a little bit different. And that strategy and that objective is going to be engagement. Okay. So the reason why we're doing engagement, because this strategy, like I previously said, you don't really need a funnel. You don't need a website. What we want are DMs of people, okay, interested in our services. So we're going to click on engagement, and then we're going to click on continue. Okay. So here I'm going to walk you through every step of the way, but I'm going to give you a lot of warnings, just because Meta it's going to recommend you a lot of things that's just what it thinks is going to be good for you, but a lot of the times it's really not. And I'll elaborate a little bit more on that later, but it's just that we're running for a local service. Okay, if you're running for a local service, so we want to. So our setup is a little bit different as opposed to someone, for example, who's has a product of teaching people how to make money online, for example. Just because when it comes to that, your targeting could be super broad and can be all over the U.S. But we want our ad to be shown to specific people, to a specific audience, your avatar in a specific location. So you're going to see that it's going to be recommending a lot of things. We're going to see that we're going to ignore those things. And I just, want you to know, like, hey, I've spent, millions and millions of dollars on paid ads on Meta. I have almost a decade of experience in this, and you've seen how much I've spent. So I've tested all the recommendations and all the other things that I think it would do better. And still, like, all the recommendation doesn't always means that is the best thing. Okay. So here, one of the things that I really recommend is the manual engagement campaign. I tailor messages campaign. I honestly never really use this. I'm not a big fan of it. I like to have full control of where I want my ad to be shown. So I like to have, I like to do the manual engagement campaign. So I'm just going to click on this option right here and then click on continue. Okay, so right now we're in the campaign level. There's 3 levels. There's the campaign level, the ad set level, and the ad level. So the campaign level is where you want Facebook to, you're telling Facebook what you want the objective of the campaign to be. We've already chose that. So right here, I'm just going to click on, campaign name. You want to name this whatever you want. So I'm just going to put, Canine Conversions. Okay. Here, I wouldn't really mess with anything else right here. Buying type, it's always going to be an auction. I'm not going to go too much in detail about that. Campaign objective, this is something that we've already chose, and it's going to be engagement. Advantage campaign plus, I would definitely, keep this off, and we're going to see that Meta's going to be recommending a lot of this advantage campaign budget. But like I said, since we're running local and our targeting is very narrow, then this, we want to stay away from campaign budget, advantage campaign budget. Okay. Or any kind of advantage campaign. This particular one is just the budget, meaning like, hey, I want you to, if I'm going to be spending, for example, like $20 a day, then you're telling Meta, hey, you could spend all this money within all here. This one right here, I like to keep it off because, again, I like to have full control over everything. So the campaign budget is going to be off. But we're going to see that campaign, the advantage campaign, word be thrown a lot around within the whole process, and we're just going to, pretty much ignore it. Okay, so A/B test, turn off, and then special ads category, turn off. Okay, I'm not gonna go too much into detail on what all of this means. What I want to do in this video is show you from A to Z how to set up your campaign to start getting leads, start getting DMs, people messaging to your Instagram, because that is the strategy, getting people messaging to your Instagram and then essentially closing them. Okay, so now we're gonna click on next. So now that we're away from the campaign, now we're in the ad set level. So what the ad set level is pretty much anything that happens behind the scenes, meaning, anything that has to do with the targeting. So the age, the budget, do you want your ad to be shown women or men or all? Do you want to target, people interested in, dogs, which is, one of the interests that we like to use? Do you want to, where do you want your ad to be shown? Do you want it on Facebook? Do you want it on Instagram? Do you want it on Threads? So this is what really just happens behind the scenes, and anything that has to do with where you want your ad to be shown. So here, I'm just going to leave it as open for now. Okay. And then conversation location, message destination, I'm just going to leave it as is. And then we have this option here. So Facebook page, Messenger, and Instagram. So it is super important that your Instagram is connected to your Facebook business page. Okay, I have another video on how to make sure that everything is connected, but if you see that, hey, you don't see none of this, or you don't see your Facebook business page, or you don't see your Instagram, well, the reason is because you haven't connected that. So that is part of the setup process, and you just have to make sure that they're both connected. That way Meta can read this, and we'll be able to run ads on behalf of these pages. Meaning that, let's say for example, if someone's on Instagram and they see your ad, it's going to be coming from your business Instagram account. If someone's on Meta and someone's on Facebook, and they see your ad, it's going to be coming from your Facebook business page. So we just want to make sure that that is connected. Okay, and then here, performance goal, we want to make sure that maximum number of performance of conversion. This one's clicked. It just defaults to that, so that's something that I recommend. And then bid control, I honestly wouldn't touch that. I'll just leave it as is. Okay, so now we're going into the budget and the schedule. So here in the budget and the schedule, you really have to think about like what is your budget? And the way I like to think about it, like what is your monthly, budget? So whatever your monthly budget, I would just divide that by 30, just because, there's, about close to like around 30, 31 days within a month. So let's say, for example, you only have a budget of $500. So if you, divide 500 divided by 30, that's going to be $16.66 per day that you want to spend. If you only have, for example, let's say 1,000, then that means you're spending $33 a day. When it comes to paid ads, one of the things that I always tell, all my clients, all the members within, the school community, and anybody who's running ads, I recommend a minimum of $500 a month when it comes to paid ads. If you can do more, then great. If you can't really do, more than 500, that, 500 is the bare minimum. If you want to test it out and spend like $200-$300, you can, but it's going to be a slower lead flow. And then you might get just one lead every 1 or 2, 3 days. If the ad is really, really good, then you'll maybe get 1 or 2 a day. But with $500 a day, that means that we have $16. I'm sorry, with $500 a month, that means that we have $16 a day to spend. And I'll tell you why I recommend 500. But if I go here, the budget, let's say that my budget is 500. Okay. That means, hey, I have $16 a day, or even like, let's say for example, $10 a day, whatever you can afford. Right here, I am just gonna put 8. Let's say for this example, I have $16. The reason why I put 8 is because I want to have 2 different assets, and I'm gonna explain why I want to have 2 different assets, and what's gonna be the difference. But if I have 2 different assets within a campaign, then I have double the chance of an ad performing best. If I only have, for example, 1 ad set, now, or 1 ad, now I'm really, really relying on just that one particular ad to do good. And if it doesn't do good, then I'm going to have to, continue to test and try to find something, as opposed to if you have 2 of them at $8 a day, then, that's equals to 16. That means that I have double the chance of it performing good. So if one performs good, then most likely one's going to perform bad. Maybe if the ad is great, both going to perform good. So there's a lot of different factors, but I'm all about probabilities, right? So meaning that the more ads I have, the higher probability I'm going to find that one winning ad. So hopefully that, that makes sense. So to make a long story short, I want to have 2 different ads, just to see which one performs better. If both perform the best or good, which it does happen, then great. If one performs good and one doesn't, then I know which one's the winner, and then I can just build off of that. So that's why, even though my budget is 500, I'm just going to put 8 for now. Okay. Start date. One of the things that I personally like to do is I like to start the date, the ads, at midnight of the next day. It does take a few hours for the ad to start showing, and typically, Meta's pretty smart enough where, it's not going to really show the ad at 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning while the majority of the population is sleeping. It's smart enough to where it will start showing your ad like around five, like 6, 7, 8 in the morning, and it kind of slows down in the afternoon, and then towards that night it just kind of picks up again. And that's because that's when people are more active. So I like to start it at at midnight. Okay. Then if I scroll down, I personally wouldn't pick an end date. Let me just tell you why. So the reason why I don't want to pick an end date when it comes to the campaign is because, let's say for example, you launch your campaign, and it's just performing great. You're getting a lot of engagements. You're getting a lot of DMs. Hit your Instagram and Facebook, and then you're closing and getting clients, and you're just seeing like, hey, I'm printing cash right now. If you set an end date, and let's say that end date hits, the ads stop, and then what happens is you just lost that momentum, and you have to restart the ads, and it's not going to start from where you left off. It's going to pretty much restart from the very beginning and try to pick up that momentum. So I don't never like to lose the momentum if a campaign is doing good. So that's why I like to have full control over everything. So I'm not going to set an end date. If I see that it's not performing good, if I see I want to pause the ads, then I can just manually pause it. But I never want to, have an end date. So I just don't recommend it. Okay. And then here, budget scheduling, I would just leave it as is. I wouldn't even touch anything here. Okay. So now we see here that we're going to see the audience control. So here in the audience control, we get to see where we want the ad to be shown based on like the location. So it's very, very important that you pay attention here, just because if you accidentally miss this part, you're going to be getting leads from all over the US. And if I have my dog training business or any sort of business, local businesses, for example, in San Diego, and I'm getting leads from Miami, from New York, from San Francisco, it doesn't really make any sense. You're just wasting money, and I don't want you guys wasting money. So here you're just gonna go, you're gonna click on that, and then it's gonna default to the United States. Okay. So what you want to do is not gonna let you remove it unless you have something there first. So for this example, I'm just gonna put San Diego. Okay. So when I look at here, right, we're going to see that we have multiple options: San Diego in Venezuela, San Diego in Texas. Obviously, I'm talking about the one in California. So when it comes to the targeting, you can pick specific cities. You can pick, you can target specific zip codes. You could target states. You could target neighborhoods. You can put an address of a location and then choose the mile radius. So for this example, let's say you have a local business, and you can target all of San Diego city. Okay, so here you have a different option. So you can have a mile radius. So for example, you can choose from a minimum of a 10-mile radius all the way to a 50-mile radius. Well, you can have those options, or one of the things I like to do is current city only, because now you are targeting all of San Diego. So let's say, for example, if I were to choose, a 50-mile radius, we're going to see that my ad is going to be going, to TJ, to Mexico. And of course, I'm not going to get clients from Mexico. So I like to typically do cities. Another type of targeting that I like to do with my clients is also based by counties. So that's a very popular one. So it's just really depending on what you service. If you know that you can only service 10-15-mile radius, because let's say, for example, you drive to them, or whatever the scenario is, you can choose a lower radius, and then you can always come here and just adjust it. If you see them like, hey, I'm getting too many people from outside of the area. Full disclaimer though, okay, it's something super important, and it's good for you to understand. You see here, it says reach people living in or recently in this location. This part right here is super important for you to know. Okay, just because what happens is, I live in Miami and I visit San Diego a lot. So anytime that I go to San Diego and then I go back to Miami, I'm getting targeted from ads in San Diego, and the reason is because I was just there. And on the ads, I'm going to show you how we're going to be calling out the location. But even there, you're going to be surprised how many people still opt in or still become a lead. They don't really read the ad, and they're like, yeah, I'm looking for dog training, and they're like in a whole different state, and they've just the reason why they're seeing the ad is because they were just right there. So it's something that that unfortunately everyone does go through when it comes to running ads. It's not very it's not common, but it still happens, and I just something that I want you to know, just because if you do get a lead from another place, it's because most likely that happened. Okay, so so you want to have that. Okay, so now I'm gonna scroll down, and again, I've mentioned how Meta always wants to recommend certain things, and at the end of the day, it wants to start getting you more leads and more clients. But the problem with that is just that it's not super recommended when it comes to local businesses, and it always recommends certain things. So for example, here, reach more people likely to respond to your ads. So obviously, it's defaulting to that. If you're someone who's running ads for the first time, or you're just new to this, and you're like, yeah, I want to reach more people, people are going to leave this checked. Okay. But here's the thing. This is where, Meta can get a little tricky. So if I go here, it says reach more people likely to respond. Okay. Let's see. Am I able to see it? Yeah. To improve performance, we'll show ads to people interested in your selected city regions. For example, people showing an intent to travel to this location or make a purchase there. Meaning that if we have this checked, Meta's going to show your ad to people who don't even live there. And what we want are leads that of people who live in that local area. So it's just best to turn it off. Okay. Again, this is one of the features where Meta thinks this is what's best for you, and yes, it would help you get more leads, but it's not your ideal leads. And at the end of the day, what do you want? You want ideal leads, not just any regular leads. So you're going to turn it off. Okay. And then you're going to see 6.7 lower cost per result. Big old bold letters or notification right there. Again, since we're running local ads, I wouldn't even worry about that. Okay. So super important for you to know. If not, you're going to be getting leads from all over the place. Okay. Then we're going to scroll down, and then we see Advantage Plus audience. I've talked about Advantage Plus. I'm not a big fan of Advantage Plus just because, again, it's going to be showing your ad based on what you want the target to be. Okay. So here, I'm just going to click on switch to original audience options. So you're going to see something like that. It'll say switch to original audience upset, or it says further narrow your audience. That's another option that I've seen in this. I personally don't have it, but I've seen other accounts have it. So you just want to click on where it says, either switch to original audience options or further your audience, or a message, something like that. So we click on this. Again, what do we see? Potential outcome up to 9.7 lower cost per result. Yes, cost per result is going to be lower, but the reason is because Meta is going to be showing your ad outside of who you want your ad to be shown. So I'm just clicking on use original audience. All right, so we see that this thing kind of switched on us a little. So we see that we can just ignore this right here, custom audience. I'm not gonna dive into that. That's a little bit more advanced stuff. You honestly don't really need it. You're gonna scroll down. We see that we had chosen San Diego. We want to make sure that this check is on. With no check there. Now, when it comes to the age. When it comes to the age, you can target anybody from 18 and above. So one of the things that I always tell all my clients whenever we're going to run their ads for them, because that's something that we personally do as well, is that I ask them, hey, look back at your past data, your past clients, and tell me where the majority of the clients came. So for example, if you're a dog trainer and you have your dog training business, that it's kind of hard for an 18, 19, 20-year-old to afford a board and train, right? Those typically go above 2,000, 3,000. So it's kind of hard for them to afford that. So typically we never target anything below that. So if you're for example a dog trainer, then one of the ones that is very, very common that we recommend, and that I hear from multiple dog trainers, is that they would get people from, for example, 28 and above. So here you can get 28 and above. Here it's, for example, this means 65 plus, meaning if you have if someone who's 75, 80 can see your ad. This one's I want to see a 50-50. I have 50% of clients, they just want to choose that. Another 50%, they're they have something a little bit more targeted, and they're like, yeah, I really don't get people who are above 65, so I'm just gonna get to 60. So meaning what we have right now is that we are telling Meta, hey, I want my ad to be shown in San Diego. We see that we have San Diego, and that are the age of 28 to 60 years old. We see that we have genders here, all genders, so both men and women. I'm not going to touch anything there. We typically never touch anything here. And then here it says advantage detail targeting. I'm just going to leave it open. So if you see here, this is why I love Meta. You can. I'm not going to go into detail when it comes to this. I can spend like another 2-3 hours when it comes to this. But you can target people who have an interest in dog behavior. You can target, people who, have an interest in dog harness, dog food, dogs. You can target, for example, parents. Those are, the reason why they're just here, because these are ones that are very popular and they have worked. So I mean, just even by just taking a picture of this, pausing the video, taking a screenshot, this will save you a ton of money when it comes to testing. Dogs is definitely an interest. This is one of my favorites. Dog behavior, dog harness, those are really, really good. Like all of these are good. We have stats with that. It's just that's something that, again, we only want to test one thing at a time. I'm just going to leave it open, meaning anybody in San Diego in the age of 28 to 60 can see it. And it's just one of those things where I like to always have one open, and then one doing a little bit more detailed targeting people who have interest in dogs, because if they have an interest in dogs, the chance of them having or owning a dog is very, very high. So I'm just going to leave this blank. Okay. And then we're looking at placements here. Super, super important for you to like pay attention here too. Okay. I know we're going through a lot, but here, advantage plus placement. So you've seen that we're seeing this common theme of advantage plus. Like, yes, it does work good, but that's if you're running nationally. So it does recommend that, for the most part, I used to like having this advantage plus placement, but recently, it added threads. And I'm not a big fan just of threads, of running just ads there. You can run it, separately if you like, but for example, here this account doesn't have it because I don't have threads connected. But for example, here is just, I like to remove audience network, and that's pretty much it. So meaning I like to have Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger, meaning that people are going to see my ad. People on Facebook are going to see my ad. People on Instagram is going to see my ad, and they're on Messenger, whether that be like on the Facebook Messenger, they're going to see my ad. So I'm just going to leave it as is and just have do all types of placements. Okay. Again, this is something that I'm not going to go too much into detail, but you can do a lot of different targets. You can, another targeting that I personally like to do a lot is just targeting only stories. And if you have the budget, I would just test both, right? I would test all placements, or pretty much just all of these, or just test messenger stories. Sorry, not messenger. Let's see. Yeah, messenger stories, Facebook stories, and Instagram stories. Like those three. Just test them by themselves. Instagram stories works really, really good as well. It's just something that, when it comes to meta ads, you just have to test. One of the things that I'm seeing the most results right now, if I just have pretty much all placements, excluding, threads and audience network, I would just remove those. But you're seeing that the ad is going to be shown to all of these. Okay. Again, here you can just decide. You can go here and uncheck certain things that, hey, I don't want my ad to be shown here. Meta is pretty good when it comes to where it's going to allocate a lot of the money when it comes to your spending. That way, it just has a higher chance of converting. Okay, so that is the ad set. Now going to the ad, I'm going to click on this blue button. And what the ad is pretty much what people are seeing online. So let's say, for example, you're scrolling on Facebook, you're scrolling on Instagram. Let's say you're scrolling on Facebook, you're scrolling on Instagram, and then you see an ad. Anything that has the word sponsor, that is an ad. A few tips when it comes to creating your ad. You want to make sure that it looks authentic, and it doesn't look too much like an ad, which is kind of weird to say, but there's so many ads out there that people get, every 3 or 4 posts there's an ad, and sometimes people get tired of that, right? So my recommendation whenever you're creating an ad is to make it as authentic as possible. And one of the ways to do that is by doing a selfie video, or just like a regular video. Nothing crazy edits. Like, I wouldn't recommend crazy edits. I've tested this already multiple times where, I'm going to give you an example. So I had this client, Limelight Media, and we ran two different videos. One video was, you know, um, one of the owners, Mike, he was just walking around his house with his phone, selfie mode, and just talking, in front of the camera. And it just looked, organic. And then we had John, another one of the, the other owners. He spent a big, like, I want to say like $5,000 on like a video editor. Like, he had like fancy equipment, perfect lighting, B-roll, like storytelling. Like, it was crazy, right? Like, he spent a good amount of money. We ran those two ads, same location, same budget, same funnel, same offer, literally everything the same. The only difference was the video. And the video that looked, the ad that looked more organic, the ad that looked less like like an ad, was the one that performed the best. And one was able to get half the cost per lead, as opposed to the high end video editing one. So what I'm trying to say here is that you don't need any crazy edits. You don't need any crazy b-rolls. You don't need to spend or even stress about it. Like, the more organic it looks, the better, just because, again, a lot of people out there are, there's so many different ads, and there's some that actually look like an ad that they just, scroll and they don't really pay attention to it. So the most organic, the better. And that is one of the best advice that I can give you here. And it's going to save you a ton of money. So let's, dive right into this. So ad name, I'm just going to leave it as ad one, for example. Partnership ad, I'm going to turn that off. I'm not going to go too much into detail when it comes to that. Here, ad setup, create ad, single image or video. This is the one I want to click. Okay. Multiple adversarial ads. You want to make sure that's clicked. Okay, perfect. So now here is we're going to start creating the ad. So for example, I'll click on here. You can choose an image video, you can choose a video ad. That's entirely fine on what you want to do. I would tell you this though, that people, having a video ad and having a video ad of you just talking, there's a lot of people that can resonate and to your video, or even connect with you more at a personal level than if you had a simple image with like text. So I'm a huge fan of video ads. I want to say that maybe 75 to 80% of my all my ads, because I'm running insane amount of ads, are video ads. And it's just again, people can resonate with you more, and that's the reason why I personally like video. So I'm just gonna click on this video here. I would just want to upload a video. So, I'm just going to, for example, do this one. All right. This is an old video that I did a while back ago. It was just a sample. So, it's nothing crazy. It's nothing fancy. But one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of it is because, and this right here, it's going to blow your mind away. And this little things, it's going to like, can really make, and break your ad. Right. Or make or break your ad. But this right here does make a huge difference. So let's say, for example, I created an ad, selfie mode, just me talking in front of the camera. If you look at here, right? What do I have here? I have text overlay that I just literally created on Instagram. So, whenever I have this ads, it just, it looks like, if it was created on Instagram, with like the Instagram edits and where you can add text, then it looks more real, right? So dog owners in San Diego. So what am I doing? I'm calling my ideal audience, right? DM me, the word dogs for a free, X, Y, and Z. So for example, if you're, a dog trainer, I would say, hey, DM me the word dogs for a free evaluation. DM me the word dog for a free consultation. I'm gonna give you, a huge bar right here, and it's just proven to work. And people who use that has been, getting more money. And the reason why is because it sounds more sexier, it sounds more attractive, but we recommend to use the word transformation session. So essentially what a free transformation session is, it's an evaluation, it's a consultation, it's just rewarded differently, and it just performs much better, it's more attractive, and you get more leads and more clients. And then if you just get people saying, oh, I thought it was a free session, well, and it's a free evaluation. So it really depends on how you do the evaluations. Do you do some sort of do you go over the dog's problems. Do you do, I know some trainers like to, fix a little small problem to see like, hey, like to get those little wins on the, on the pre-evaluation. It just really depends on how you do it, but the wording here is important. So dog owners to San Diego, if you're, targeting in San Francisco, dog owners in San Francisco, you want to call it out. DM me the word, which is a call to action, dogs, for a free evaluation, for a free transformation. And then lastly, you want to have this geo tag. So, the way you add it is, I upload the video on Instagram, and then I put the text, and then on Instagram stories where you can edit it, you can put your the location that you're at. So now what happens is, people resonate when they see that it's their local area. So, again, it's something that we've spent, a lot of money when it comes to testing. And we've seen that, whenever there's, let's say, for example, a geotag of the location of that specific location, and then they're in that location, then they resonate to the ad more than if it didn't have anything like that. And plus, if, let's say, for example, if I was in San Diego, and then now I'm back in Miami, and I'm seeing San Diego ads, but if I see, that the location is in San Diego, and if I read the ad and if I paid attention, I'm not going to opt in. I'm not going to click on the ad because it doesn't resonate to me. It doesn't, I'm all the way in the other side of the country, so it doesn't make any sense for me to want to get a free transformation session. It just doesn't make any sense. So little stuff like that does help with eliminating where you're getting certain people, and also talking to your ideal audience. Okay, so you can click on that. Then you click on skip, continue. You can click on that. And then here, you're just going to click on next. All right. Primary text, I would just ignore that right now. And the reason why is because if you go here and then click on next, then Meta's going to make you do, put it again. And it just makes you do the double amount of work. I don't know why. I don't know if it's a glitch or I don't know what to do, but I never do that. I don't want to do extra work if I don't have to. So here, I'm just going to click on next. And then here is super important. Okay. Super, super important. You want to make sure that this is off and this is off. Other active enhancement, you just want to make sure that this is off, and off. And the reason why is because, again, I want to have full control over everything. Sometimes Meta will do some things that it would recommend that don't look good. So, for example, one time, I had one of these on, I was testing it, and then I saw that my video was upside down. Like, no lie, my video was literally upside down. Or sometimes what happens, it'll, put, music on an image. If you're using image where it has nothing to do with, what you're offering. Or sometimes it just, it enhances the way a video looks, but it just takes away a lot of the color, and it just doesn't look good at all. So I like to have everything off. And, there's a little sneaky because they sometimes like to hide it. So you just want to make sure that they're off, and then now you click on done. Okay. So now here, there's an ad. If it's going like this, like it's, fine, maybe you could just, switch it a little, make the text a little, like you just want to make sure make sure that it fits good. Okay. And then that's the video. Now we're going to go with the primary text, the headline, call to action, and all of that stuff. So for the call to action, you want to send the message because essentially what we're doing is we're sending we're getting DMs. All right. Primary text, I can make a whole 2-3 hour video when it comes to primary text and what to say, the hook, all that stuff. I'm not going to go into detail when it comes to that. You can either just use ChatGPT in order to help you create a message, or I'll do you guys a solid just because, I really want to help you guys get more leads and get more clients. I'm going to get this one from a particular, trainer who's already making $21,000 in a single month. All right. And then I am just going to add it right here. So you can just pause the video, take a screenshot, get this exact wording. But we see that, hey, I'm looking to help 7 Georgia dog owners help build a stronger and healthy relationship with their dog. So this particular is more if you're, a dog trainer. If you're, any other, if you're a groomer, a poop scooper, walker, or just, outside of the dog niche, dog industry, you can change the word around, or you can have these similar concepts and then, just change it to your wording. But here we're already in scarcity. We're at, we're looking to help 7, and then we're adding the location, Georgia dog owner. So if I'm San Diego, I'm just going to put San Diego dog owners. Okay. DM me the word transform, which here to be, dog. to unleash your dog's true potential. I'm also giving away, a free transformation session to anyone who books a call with us. Free transformation session only applies to dog parents who live in Georgia. So again, what are we doing here? We're emphasizing, that we're only looking for people in that location. Why? Because sometimes you do get an ad from people outside. If I'm like, for example, if I'm in San Diego and then I go to Los Angeles, and if I'm traveling back and forth, which is only like a 2 hour and a half drive, then I might be in LA and I'm going to see the ad from San Diego. So again, this there's no way avoiding this and getting people outside of your area, but it doesn't happen very often. It's, I want to say like 10 to 20% of the time it does. If you see that like 90 or 80% of the people that your leads that you're getting are out of this, out of your area, then there was something wrong in the like in the setup. Maybe we didn't click on, we didn't choose a specific location and we just left it at United States, because I've seen that happen before. But again, adding and emphasizing San Diego dog owners. Here would be who live in San Diego. All right, we see here, San Diego, and then we have the geotag. So we see there's 4 locations where, we're emphasizing where we're running the ads to. Okay, headline. Again, I'm just going to use, her headline. Send us a message. Oh, whoops. Again, what let's see. All right, send us a message. Here, let me just get that because I think I just undid that. Okay, I'm just going to change these to San Diego. And then this one going to be dog because that's the keyword that I used. And then I'm just going to put, where is it? San Diego. Okay, perfect. So now I have my primary text, I have my headline, I have my call to action, and then lastly, this is where it gets, interesting. Okay, so I haven't seen anybody use this strategy here, because typically whenever someone wants to start a conversation, what happens, you give them some sort of option. Greetings, hey Sandra, please let us know how we can help you. Questions and responses. 1, can I learn more about your business? 2, can you tell me more about your ad? 3, is anyone available to chat? I don't want to give them options. Whenever it comes to running paid ads, the less friction, the better. If we can guide them into one direction, then it's going to perform much better. A confused mind never buys. Okay, so if we can, just streamline the process and make sure that, they just go from A to B, B to C, C to D, without having to, get distracted to somewhere else, then the better it's going to perform. So, quick note to note, it says there's the preview showing your ad. Help me fix this. If you see this, that's fine. Meta's weird, has some bugs. So sometimes that happens. But here, we're just going to click on create new, and then we're going to click on edit. Okay, so we see here, right? For example, this is how the ad is going to look like. We want to delete that. So we're going to delete question 1. We're going to delete question 2. And then what we're going to do here on the greetings, all right, I can either leave this or, we can, delete this. But I'm going to just put, like, for example, that default, DM me dog if you want to fix your dog's behavior ASAP or something like that, right? So what happens here is that, people are going to see the ad, and then they're going to click on it. They're going to get this message. They're going to see this message. Hey, Sandra, DM me dog if you want to fix your dog's behavior ASAP. Then what you're going to do here is they're just going to put, like, for example, dog. So what we're doing here, excuse me, we're adding less friction. So what I mean by that, is that instead of, people seeing the ad, clicking the ad, and actually typing the word dog or typing the word transformation session or typing the word evaluation, we're going to give them the option to just click on this. And once they click on that, it'll respond with, it'll send you the word with dog, and that's where you start the conversation. Um, so this is the reason why we have that. So another thing to note, because this is super important, that is if someone, for example, clicks on the ad but doesn't type in dog or doesn't even click on this, a dog option, then what happens is Facebook is still gonna, or Meta, Instagram, or Facebook still gonna send this message right here. The reason why it does it, even there wasn't a response, is for more like a follow up. So some people like that, some people don't. Um, just because some people say like, oh, it feels spammy, but honestly, like very very low, people even say anything about that or even complain about that. So it's something that it just performs better than we get in the option than if we have them manually type in dog or transformation session. Again, the less friction, the better. And this is why this strategy works so insanely good. Just because if someone lives in San Diego, they see the ad and they just want to, I want to fix my dog's behavior, one button and they send you a message. It goes directly to your messenger or it goes directly to your Instagram account. And that's where you can take over the conversation. Like, hey, and like, thanks for reaching out. What got you to reach out? And then that's when you start the conversation and they start telling you about that. And then eventually the whole point of that is to get a phone number. That way you can call them, set an appointment, and close them. Okay. And so here, this is how we do the setup. If you're, in a different industry, or like, for example, if you're a dog groomer, you can put something like, hey, DM me the dog, DM me, grooming if you want to claim, 50% off, or if you want to come in for X, Y, and Z. So it's really just depending on what type of offer. So in order for an ad to work, you got to make sure that you have a good offer. So that's why, for example, a free transformation session is essentially the same as a free valuation or consultation, but everyone is using that. You go to the chiropractor, you go to the doctor, you go to the dentist, you get, training, any type of training, everyone's saying evaluation or consultation. Transformation session, sex here, it's exactly the same thing. It's up to you if you want to use it or not, but it's just, that's what makes an ad good. That's the reason why, for example, we have, let's see, it's like, for example, Lynn right here, this is her video, and it's her, just with the dog. And yeah, we have, what is it called? Captions. You can do captions. You can test it without captions. Or just the text overlay. It's really up to you. And honestly, when it comes to paid ads, it's more about testing what works or what doesn't. Just because I can have the exact same ad, literally the exact same one, and it may perform better in San Diego, but it may not perform the same in New Orleans. Or I can have a video that's just absolutely crushing it in Miami, but we see that in, like, for example, in Nashville, it's not crushing it, even though it's the exact same thing. So it's important for you to test out, okay? And then here, we're just going to click on, for example, keyword, because we like to have keyword, name a keyword, which is dog, and then save. Okay. So pretty much right after you do that, that's where you just, make sure that, everything is good. So one of the things I like to do is I like to go from the very, very beginning and then go to the end to make sure that I did my work right. Okay. It's super important for you to do this. And, it's if you don't do this and there's a mistake, you're gonna be spending a lot of money, or you're just gonna get leads from the wrong location, and then you're gonna be like, hey, ads don't work, and you're just not gonna want to run ads, and you're not gonna make money, you're not gonna get leads just because of you didn't double check your work. So here, the only thing I'm gonna check is make sure that it says engagement, which it does. Here, the main thing is just that it's connected there. I have the right budget, starting the right time. Here's that I actually have this location. This is super, super important that you have the actual location and doesn't have the United States. And then here, you want to make sure that is checked off. Super important. If it's not checked off, you're going to get leads outside of your local area. Just warning you. Okay. I'm going to scroll down. This is the age 28 to 60. Gender. I want all genders. And then here, I'm just going to leave it open for now. Okay. And then manual placement. This is where I want it to be. Okay, we're good. We're good there. I'm going to click on one ad. Now I'm in the ad level. I see that I have, the video here, even though there's a bug and it's not showing me this. I have the primary text. I have the right, location, headline, and then here, hey name, like for example, hey Sandra, or like hey, San Diego. If you don't want to have a name, you just want to put the location, hey San Diego, dog owners like, DM me, dog, if you want to fix your dog's behavior ASAP, or if you want to claim this offer, if you want X, Y, and Z. So again, want to make sure that you have an offer. And again, I couldn't make a whole video based on irresistible offers. But which I do have, somewhere. But it's just want to make sure that you have a good offer that is different than anybody else, and that's why this free transformation sessions for dog trainers work great. If you're a groomer, walker, you just have to think about it. What's a good offer that you can do? It could be 50% off. Could it be your first free bath when could it be like, hey, get one free bath when you buy a package of 3, for example, right? It's just really thinking about different types of offer. Okay. And then after this, you're pretty much, done. I'm not going to be able to push it live because, this is a dummy account, and there's no payment method here. So I'm not going to be able to push it through. But again, we're going to go talk about how, I want to run $16 a day. Right now we're only running 8, and I wanted 2 ads. So here, what I'm going to do is, once you have multiple ads, you don't have to do this process again. You can just duplicate. So if I click on this, you can just, for example, you can just duplicate, and then you see this where, Facebook's trying to be tricky. It wants you to add this, and it kind of defaults to that. So you want to make sure that that's off. Okay. Again, little details like that really, can make or break your ad. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of people don't really like ads, because Meta is always constantly changing. But, for someone like me, who's, this is what I do for a living, and I run my own ads, and I'm always testing, seeing what works better. I know when they do changes. So here I'm just clicking on that, and then I want it in the existing campaign, and I'm just going to duplicate. Okay. So now here, now I want to target. I'm going to go here. Now I want to target people who have interested in dogs, have some sort of dogs, or have any interest relating to dogs. That's who I want to target now. This is my second, one of my best performing interests. So I'm giving you a lot of sauce here, guys. Okay. And then perfect. Now I have dogs. So now what I have here, if I go to the X here, okay. So if I go here, just to give you a breakdown of what we just did, I have my DM campaign, because essentially that's what we're doing. We're getting people to send us DM. We're getting people to send us the word dog, transform, eval, whatever keyword you want to use. That's up to you. Doesn't have to be dog. That's really, really just up to you. And then, we have the campaign. Now we have 2 different ad sets, which, 2 different ads. Because if I go here, there's, 2 different ads. So now they're spending at $8 a day, meaning that if we add both of them up, we're spending $16 a day. And if we're spending 16 times 30, that is a budget of 500. So the reason why I wouldn't recommend anything within 500, under 500. You can test it out, just, slower process, and, you can still make money, but just slower process. Is because I like to have a minimum budget of at least $7 per ad set. Right here, I have 8. And I like to have 2, because now if this one doesn't work, I can rely on this one to work. If this one doesn't work, then maybe this one will work, or maybe both will work. If both doesn't work, then it's just a matter of, testing a new ad. But, at least I have, a higher probability of one of these ads performing if I have 2 different ads as opposed to if I had one. Okay. So I just want to make sure that, this is checked, and then I hit review and publish. And I'm not going to be able to do that just because I have no payment method here, just because this is a dummy account. But that is how you launch your ad. Cost per message, anything under $10, anything under $15 in the very beginning is pretty decent. Anything under $10 is really good. That means you have a very good performing ad or video. So I would just keep an eye on this. This is the entire setup. This is how you're going to get people. The follow-up afterwards is incredibly important. So, just quick tips. You want to make sure that you're responding right away. You don't want to make sure that you're not taking hours or even days to respond. You are going to get, some people, accidentally clicking on the ad. That's normal. You are going to get some people who are not qualified, and they're just like, what is this kind of thing? And they're not serious. It happens to me all the time. We run, for example, this campaign, or, what is it? This campaign that we've spent, a ton of money. Where is it? Was it this one? Well, there was one of them that we spent like, half a million. Even then, like for example, this one we spent $45,000 on ads. Not all of them are qualified, but it's, there are people who are interested in there. And as long as you understand that concept, as long as you understand that it's a numbers game and understand that, hey, out of, some of this BS messages or leads, there are going to, people who want your services. And even, for example, just putting it in perspective, not saying that it's going to happen, but this is just me putting it into, into, into perspective. So let's say, for example, you have, 10 messages. Out of those 10 messages, it costs you, for example, $100 per message. That means you spend $100 and you got 10 messages. And if nine of them are not interested, but one of them is and buy your services, then that's a really good, return on ad spend if you have a high ticket, product or service. Just like, for example, a board and train, because now if your board and train costs $2,000 and you just spend $100 in ads, if you do the math, like that's a big return on ad spend. So I don't want you guys to, be so stuck on, oh, all the leads or most of the leads are crappy. Like, no. Like that's a wrong mentality. You want to have it as a numbers game and really say like, out of X amount of leads, how many people am I converting? Like that's a business mindset when it comes to running the ads. Again, not saying that it's going to be 1 out of 10, sometimes 1 out of 5, sometimes a little bit more. I'm just giving you guys an example, but I just want to make sure that you guys have that understanding, just because I've had multiple times, and it's crazy because I ran ads for like, 3 days for like high level dog trainers. I mean, these are like, I'm not going to put any names, but it's just like very well respected dog trainer in the industry. We ran for 3 days. He got like 5 leads, and they're like, all of these are crap, and they're like, Facebook doesn't work, and started making a big deal out of it. And it's just because don't get me wrong, he's great at what he does, but it's just like he didn't understand, the vision of when it comes to paid ads. He didn't understand the concept of paid ads. So he's just like, ads don't work. And then, started making a big deal. And it's just like, well, we only ran for like a few days. We've only got like a few leads. Like you haven't given it enough time. So, if you have, that type of mindset where like, hey, one lead doesn't work and it's just, this doesn't work. Like, I'm gonna be quite honest with you. Like, this isn't for you. Paid ads isn't for you. Like, you should be working on your mindset first before even coming into, wanting to run paid ads. But if you're someone who really understands like, hey, this is a numbers game. Hey, I know I'm going to get some crappy leads because I get it. Everyone gets it. Literally everybody who runs ads gets it. Then, you're going to win at this game. That's just the truth. You're going to win at this game. If 100% of the leads were qualified, everyone would be rich. I mean, every single person and their mothers will be rich. But, that's not really the case. We are going to have some crappy leads. How many times have you opted into something and you actually, bought something? So it's just a matter of following up. It's just a matter of building rapport. It's just a matter of, following up properly with your leads and, being engaged with them. Appreciating like, hey, appreciate you reaching out. What got you to reach out? Don't be, hungry money when it comes to, launching these, you know, launching these ads. Be more of like, in the mindset of wanting to get to know the person and seeing what, their problems, that way to see if you're, what kind of solution you can offer them. Same if you do like a free eval, like you're not, necessarily going straight to the offer, like you fact find. Same thing when it comes to the DMs. So I hope this video helped. I'm telling you, if you take this seriously, you can make a ton of money. And I know this because, we're doing it. I have clients doing it. There's a reason why we're still spending, like $50,000 a month on just paid ads for other clients, or how, for example, Lynn is just absolutely crushing it. I mean, I'm giving it all away for free. Like this is the entire setup. I don't see anybody else doing this. I just want you guys to win, start getting some DMs, start getting some leads, start getting some clients, and then, start making more money to the point where like, okay, I need a better systems. I need, more sales training. I need, different offers and I need a little bit more help when it comes to scaling. And that's when you, come to us, just because, that is exactly what we do. We help, dog trainers, dog business owners, online coaches, pretty much in any industry, get more leads, get more clients, scale, build systems, get the sales trainings, do weekly mastermind. We do it all. But it's important that, I want to make sure that you are winning first, making some money, and then growing and scaling, your business and getting to that point. So hope this video helped, and then I'll see you next time. Ciao.